In this video, we will look at how to create a basic login screen in Microsoft Access. So first of all, we're going to create a table that maintains the user information. So I have gone ahead to create a table. Let's just go to the design view of this table. So here we have basic user information like name, email address, username, password. But pay keen attention to the password. For the input mask, so I've used password. That simply means that whenever the user types in a password, as you can see here, some asterisks are used to represent the password that the user enters. All right, so once you have set up your user table, the next thing to do is to create the login form by just going to create, and this time I'm going to choose form designer. And for the login form, we need two text boxes. One that's going to capture the username. All right, so this one is going to be the username. And the other one is going to be for the password. Okay, so ensure that you get these two text boxes. So that's this. This is the password. All right, so for the text field itself, we need to specify a name for each. So for this one, just click on this. It says unbounded on it and head over here. This is showing the text. So I'm going to change it to username or user one. So one, let me use user one. For this one, I'm going to call this one password one. Password one. So now our username and our password is set. The next thing that is needed is a login button. So I need one button that says login. So the button is right. Cancel this. Need another button that says cancel. Slide. So for this, I'm just going to change the caption. So click on it and then go ahead and over on the right side. You will see the option to set the caption for the button. Caption that I'm using is login. Press enter. Same thing for this one. Caption that here is no cancel. The next thing to do is to add the code that you will execute it whenever the button is clicked. Additionally, you can put a label at the top. And you can just format it, maybe a little big and bold, or login. Secretary. All right, so the next thing that we need to do now is to configure what should happen in the button basically. So let's get a preview of this. So that's what we have. We can always adjust it. At the moment, if you click on these buttons, nothing happens. So let's go to design view. If you go to right click on login and you go to build events. I'm going to go to the code builder. And here I'm going to specify what should happen when the login button is clicked. So we're going to say, check to see if the password that the user enters, which is called password one, corresponds with the password that is stored in the database table. So I use a function called VB and it is going to check the database table. I'm going to specify a field to look up, kind of, password. And the table that we're searching for that field is the user table. So we're looking in the user table for the password, where the username, okay? So the username in the table is equal to the username that the user would have entered. All right. So this and here is just being used to concatenate the text. So where the username is equal to username one is the username that the user would have entered in the text that we created earlier on. We're putting another concatenator just to join the single quotation around the username. All right. So the double quotation is just here to create one string literal. But what I really need out of it is a single quotation. All right. So we join in the single quotation to the username. In other words, whatever the username that the user enters is if the user enters raw for the username is going to appear like this. ROY with two single quotations at one. Right? So that's the idea behind that. Right, so once that is done, close our bracket. I'm gonna say then. So if there's a match, I'm gonna bring up pop-up that says, all right, I'm gonna run a command to open the switchboard form. But if there's an error, we're gonna so the switchboard is the main navigational form. Right. So it's an error here. Let's fix that. So it's D do CMD. Okay. Let's see message box error user name. So if that takes care, that's a basic code that takes care of what should happen in the login button script. Let's see works. So I click login, say error username or password is incorrect. Let me put in a username, the password that exists. All right, yeah, you can notice that it worked. However, uh, what we really want to happen is that the password is not revealed to the user. So let's head back in the design view. So I don't want the password to be revealed to the user. So I'm going to click on the password text field, and I'm going to head over here to where it says data. I'm going to look for input mask, and I'm going to specify that the input mask that I would like to use is a password. That would have masked password so that the user doesn't actually see and then exit words in time. So if we come up here, there's some asterisks up here. Here, it will still work, but it shows like, all right, good. Um, so back to the login screen. The cancel button, as at the moment, it does not work. So let's look at how we could actually modify the code so that the cancel button works. Just click on cancel, right click, go to build events, and still using the code builder. All right, so it actually comes below the one that we did before. So I'm gonna say user name one that set focus. All right, so we're just gonna set the focus for each of the fields and then we clear it. All right. So you have to set a focus before you can do it. So to clear it, you just want to say username one that is a function about text, or there's a property called text that we can set to in this quotation, and that will clear username first. The same thing for password, so there's a user, not using password one. Text, text. So you got to empty quotation. However, if we can set the password text to the empty quotation, you have to set the focus for the password as well. So you have to say password one that says focus. Right? So once that is done, we can set those. All right. So this goes this back here. So if I click cancel, notice it cancels are clear on what you want. Let's type in. All right, so that's pretty much how we set up um, a login screen. All right. Um, Now we could also modify the properties of the database so that whenever the user opens the database, it lands on the login screen. We'll take care of that in the next video. All right, so let's just save this and close. So this is gonna be user login. All right, so thank you for watching. All right, so if we want the user to be prompted to log in as soon as the database is open, we can just go to File, go to Options, choose Current Database. All right, and then down here it says Display Form. So if I put user login for the display form, of course, what's going to happen is that the user will see the user login form first thing when they log in. And there are other security measures that can be implemented, but we'll just stop here for now. And so let's click OK. All right, so if I close and reopen, then you'll see the quick. Let me see them done. So let's set the database that I was working on. Start database one. And there it is. So the first form that you're prompted to is this. And of course, you can configure access so that these are not shown when the user login. So there are a lot of security measures that you can. So if I put 1, 2, 3, it would then take me to the main switchboard and so. All right. So thanks very much for watching. You can even think about adding a logout screen. I mean, a logout option. So if I click logout, it will take you back to the login, to the user login. That's all I think. So there's quite a lot that can be done.